why you can't stop overeating, and it's not about food. You've heard generic weight loss advice. You've heard the advice of, stop eating the junk food, stop eating the processed foods, and just do some more cardio. Or go ahead and follow one of these diets, such as keto, carnivore, or even vegan diets. And honestly, like this sort of advice could help. They could go ahead and help you to go ahead and lose weight. And honestly, the reason why diets such as the carnivore diet, the keto diet, or even the vegan diet help, because they all go ahead and help you do this one thing: be in a calorie deficit. Basically being in a state where you're eating less calories than you burn, resulting to weight loss. Okay? And honestly, if you go ahead and lose weight with advice such as, doing more cardio, being on one of these diets, cutting out all the processed foods and everything, then good for you. But I know that you clicked on this video since you want to go ahead and stop overeating. You want to go ahead and maybe even stop binge eating altogether. You might be going ahead and sticking to one of these diets. You might be going ahead and trying to eat less bad food. You might be wanting to do more cardio, and you stay consistent for a few days, but then you go ahead and just like get back to eating the bad food, the junk food, the burgers, the fries, or the sweets, all that type of stuff. But what if I told you that a lot of people say that, oh yeah, it's the food's fault and everything. And honestly, they're not wrong, because a lot of the processed foods that you will be eating, it is actually made in literal laboratories, okay? And the food companies go ahead and make the food as addictive as they can, okay? But even then, like certain people, they know that like burgers, fries, pizzas are bad for you, but they don't go ahead and get addicted. It is the certain types of people who actually go ahead and get really, really addicted to some of these foods, right? And why is that? Well, it's not actually a food problem, it is a you problem, okay? Instead of like a lot of people say, oh yeah, cut out the processed foods, okay? Bro, instead of eating pizza, go ahead and eat lettuce, which is honestly good advice, because, like this is literally like more nutrient dense, like, you can stuff your face with lettuce. But nobody's really gonna go ahead and stay consistent with that, right? There is a problem which is inside of you. That is the core problem of everything. It's not actually the food's fault, it's not the pizza's fault, bro. It's honestly a problem which could be inside of you. And honestly, your addiction to going ahead and overeating and eating bad food, it is the same sort of symptom to a deeper cause. Same thing goes with other people who go ahead and get addicted to smoking, drinking, porn, video games. People get addicted to these things because you have something, or you have the belief in you that you need to go ahead and consume these things. People who go ahead and get addicted to smoking, drinking, etc., they think that, okay, like I need these things in my life to feel better. And that is why people get drifted to these types of bad addictions, right? They get addicted to drinking, video games, porn, smoking, and even in your case, for example, it can be just food, right? You feel a sense of pleasure, and you're just craving for a sense of comfort, pleasure. And honestly, a very common overeating loop is basically, first, you have stress. Now, stress can be related to anything. You might be going through a breakup, you're unhappy in school, work, you're just like feeling stressed, you're feeling worried, you're anxious, all these types of things, right? You're basically having this negative emotion, right? You feel negative and you just wish for it to like go away, basically. Like you're sitting in the moment, you're unhappy, and then you get the temptation. Now, in this case, the temptation could be to go ahead and eat, in particular, to go ahead and eat bad food, like for example, like ice cream, junk food, McDonald's. They're very easy to go ahead and eat, and they're easy, and they're, like cheap or whatever. People make excuses, to go ahead and eat bad food. It's very pleasurable. It gives a lot of dopamine because it tastes very good, because as I said, it is literally made in a laboratory, okay? It is literally made for us humans to be like as addictive, as pleasurable as you can. Now, you go ahead and get the temptation, but then you actually go ahead and eat the food. And what happens when you eat, junk food, or you're going ahead and just like eating food? You're feeling stressed, and by eating food, for a lot of people, especially people who go ahead and binge eat, you will go ahead and feel a lot of comfort. You'll feel a lot of dopamine, okay? And it's gonna be very, very addicting. But then, after some time, all of this fake pleasure, all this instant gratification goes away, and then you feel guilty. You feel guilty, and a normal person, you'll feel guilty for going ahead and eating like the burgers, the fries, and everything. But in a lot of cases, if you're going ahead and binge eating right now and everything, like you're somebody who binge eats and overeats a lot, you'll feel guilty for going ahead and, eating the bad food. And then you feel stressed. You feel stressed again. And then the same cycle repeats. You get the temptation. You know what? I already ate some bad food. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and eat some more. I'm going to go ahead and eat some more. And then you feel guilty, and then you feel stressed, and repeats every single time. This is just an example of something which can happen, but you need to go ahead and step back and honestly ask yourself, why? Like, what does food give you that you can give to yourself? Like, what problems, like what emotions do you feel before eating? You need to like sit back and honestly ask yourself this. And like, you might be feeling, oh, you know what, like this video is lame. Like, I'm not gonna go ahead and tell you that, oh yeah, bro, you need to go on carnivore, you need to go on vegan diet. Like these health, influencers, these people who promote these diets, they never go ahead and actually tell you like why you get addicted to eating bad food. They say, oh yeah, the food's bad, and this diet is better, this diet is better. Oh, you'll go ahead and lose weight. You need to find the deep root cause, the deep root cause as to, in your own psychology, what makes you to go ahead and get tempted and you start eating these bad foods. Like, why? Because there's people who go ahead and eat bad food, but they don't go ahead and get addicted. They don't start like binge eating and everything, But you need to find, in your case, like what emotions do you feel? Why do you go ahead and want to go ahead and overeat and binge eat? Like, what does it give you? Okay. And the reality is that food doesn't fix your problems, okay? And this sounds very brutal, and you probably know this by now and everything, but food is not going to go ahead and fix your problems. And despite whatever problems you have in life, you need to understand that this is only just a coping mechanism. It is short-term pleasure, okay? You just forget about it in the moment. Same thing goes with people who go ahead and smoke, drink, with other bad addictions, right? You just go ahead and forget about your reality for a few seconds, okay? A few seconds, and then you go ahead and snap back, right? You snap back and you feel worse, and you think, you know what, life is such a struggle, right? It is such a struggle. And honestly, I don't blame you, okay? Because it's very easy, if you're feeling unhappy, unfulfilled in your life, you have no sense of purpose, for example, to go ahead and just feel depressed, you feel unhappy, and it's very easy to go ahead and resort to these types of bad addictions, right? And for the average person who isn't addicted to these things, it's very easy to think, smoking is bad, like why do you do it? But the real problem is just inside of you, the deep root cause, okay? And even though somebody might know that like smoking is bad, drinking is bad, and you might think, yeah, like junk food and everything and binge eating is horrible, right? But you go ahead and do it because you just think that by doing these things, you're going to go ahead and actually feel better. But the real reality is that you won't feel better. Now, what is the solution to your problem, okay? In particular, about binge eating and overeating, because this is what the whole video is supposed to be about. Now, for binge eating, a big thing, and the biggest and most important thing, which honestly, if you go ahead and take this away from the video, then it's honestly good, right? So the biggest thing is that you need to go ahead and be mindful, because really, what is binge eating, okay? Okay, let's get back to the same sort of cycle, okay? If you go ahead and eat, you feel a sense of comfort, okay? And then it's like, in particular with bad food, or you're just sitting there and everything, when you go ahead and start eating, it's eventually you think, oh man, you know what, this food tastes pretty good, right? but then you go ahead and eat and eat and eat. And it's like you're not even in control. Like you're not even in the moment, okay? You're not even in the moment, and you go ahead and overeat. So the first thing you need to do is literally pause. Pause before you eat. Honestly, just take a deep breath. Literally, like sit there for like a few seconds and really think, okay, do I need to go ahead and eat this food right now? And honestly, what can help is also to just drink a glass of water, because this goes ahead and helps you to be more mindful. And by drinking a glass of water in particular as well, it's going to make you feel even a little bit more full before even ingesting any sort of food, right? Because you already have some fluid in your stomach, right? And honestly, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but this is the truth, in particular for people who go ahead and struggle to overeat and binge eat. Like, do not use your phone, do not use the TV, do not use your iPad, nothing, okay? In particular, if you're struggling with overeating, because it is very easy to overeat when you're not even in the moment to begin with. Like you're watching YouTube, you're watching a show on Netflix. It's so easy to go ahead and just like overeat anything. In particular, processed foods like, I don't know, chips and everything. You know, you're eating like fries on the couch. It's so easy to go ahead and overeat if you're literally using phones and you're using screens, okay? Because you just become unmindful. But if we want to go ahead and fix this problem, you need to be more mindful, you know? So to be more mindful, you need to be just in the present moment. And being in the present moment just means that you're here and you're thinking about the food only, okay? You need to like just not be thinking about anything else pretty much. Just focus on one thing at a time, you know, and that's really, really gonna go ahead and help. And the more you go ahead and do this, the more you go ahead and try to be more mindful and be in the present moment and just focus on your food, the more it's going to go ahead and become easier eventually. Okay. So another thing is that you need to go ahead and change your identity. And no, you're not going to go ahead and change your identity in just like a few minutes and with this video, for example, but you just need to stop phrasing and just stop saying these things in your head that like, I'm struggling to go ahead and lose weight. I'm a binge eater. I'm trying to lose weight. And basically, like what this gives is in your own sort of subconscious mind that, you know, since I'm struggling to go ahead and lose weight, you know, I'm addicted to bad food, you know, I'm eventually going to go ahead and break my diet. I'm going to go ahead and binge eat again. You know, by going ahead and saying these things, it's like you're programming yourself to go ahead and fail, okay? And even though you're not probably too fit or too healthy at the same time right now, you need to go ahead and like stop using these types of phrases that like I'm struggling, you know, I'm addicted, you know, I don't know if I can do it. You need to go ahead and believe in yourself, and you need to say that, you know what, I'm a healthy and fit person, because you know what, I didn't go ahead and binge eat today, I didn't go ahead and cheat on my diet. And if you don't want to say that, you can just simply say, I'm becoming this type of person. If you're not this type of person already, you're becoming this type of person, you know, who goes ahead and eats healthy and becomes a fit person, you know. And honestly, like a healthy person, they might go ahead and honestly, like they might go ahead and eat some bad food, you know. But what makes them healthy is that it is a continuous habit. So if you have one bad day, that doesn't make you, you know, an unhealthy person, a person who's addicted to junk food and everything. You know, they are a healthy and fit person due to their lifestyle, due to them being consistent with it. You know, even though you miss one day in the gym, that doesn't make you inconsistent in the gym. You know, that doesn't make you any less muscular, any less fit. And the final thing which I wanted to say is that it gets easier, okay? If you go ahead and practice these types of things, it will become easier eventually, and your whole identity will change, okay, with time. So the more you go ahead and be mindful, the more you go ahead and when you get the urges, you say, you know what, I'm not gonna go ahead and eat this bad food. You know what? I'm not even hungry. I don't want to go ahead and eat this food. The more you go ahead and say that, okay, I'm not gonna go ahead and eat this. No, I'm not gonna do it. The more it gets easier with time. The every single no that you say, it will become easier eventually. You need to really just go ahead and stick with it, okay? And one bad day of eating is not going to go ahead and mess you up, okay? The most important thing is that you don't give up, you bounce back, and you go ahead and actually realize this cycle which you get into. Find out what is the root cause of your problem. Find out like what foods do you go ahead and binge eat the most with, and what kind of emotions do you feel when eating these foods. And if you go ahead and realize this and you actually take time to understand yourself more, you're gonna go ahead and finally break through the cycle, okay? And if this video has helped you, make sure to like and subscribe. And before you go, I actually have a Skool Community, first link in the description, being the Aesthetic Academy. And it is a new Skool Community for young men who want to go ahead and get aesthetic and improve their diets and become disciplined in the gym. And if that sounds something which you might be interested in, make sure to go ahead and check out the Skool Community below. And thank you for watching this video.